Knives Sports Adventures here. We are talking about today the Kubey Dandy 2.0. This is another knife I'm reviewing in my gentleman's folder info videos. So let's take a look at this knife. This is a long knife. This is a blade pushing the 4-inch mark. So for size comparison, this is a Benchmade SOCP folder with a nearly 5-inch blade. This is a cold steel Tylite 4-inch, and here's kind of your standard size pocket knife, Benchmade Griptilian. You can see it's quite a bit smaller even if we close them down. There's kind of the size comparison. This knife is longer, but it's also very thin. So this knife is a big knife, has a lot of cutting edge, but it doesn't carry like a big knife. It carries actually pretty small. You can see it's narrower than the cold steel. It's not a thick knife. It's just kind of long and thin, which is a profile that I like. I like the longer, thinner knives. My hand closes around them very well. This knife looks really square, but in the hand it feels good. It doesn't feel like a squared off handle, but there's still enough depth over width ratio so that you can index it, tell where the edge is very well. Titanium handle, carbon fiber inlay, S30V steel on the blade, but this blade has a fantastic heat treat on it. This is one of the best edge holding blades that I've ever reviewed. My standard kind of slices through a dowel test. This took 200 through the dowel, and it was still very sharp. That's one of the best edge holding that I've ever seen. It really took 300 through the dowel before this actually started tearing paper. This is actually, the same knife. I have not sharpened it since I did the cutting test. You can see it's just starting to tear paper, but that is still pretty sharp. And that's 300 slices through the dowel, which most knives don't even get to before they're tearing paper, this way. This one's just kind of starting to catch. So amazing edge holding on this. This is the second best that I've ever done. There's a better one that I'll test here soon that you'll get a video of. So some interesting ergonomic stuff on this that is all really well done. The flipper is put right at the end of the knife here so that there's nothing to get in the way of it. Some knives have a lot of knife sticking out here, which tends to interfere with your ability to hit the flipper. This flipper isn't overly large, but since it's right there at the end, it's very easy to catch and very easy to flip, so the ergonomics are fantastic. I love a straighter edge blade. There's a lot of slicing area on that blade, and since it's straight, things don't tend to get sliding off of it. The carbon fiber gives you really good grip on the outside, so you don't have the slipperiness of a normal titanium knife. And one of the best things about this knife is the pocket clip. So I really like the Concept knife that I recently did a video of had a terrible pocket clip, and every way that one is bad, this one is amazing. It's got good retention. I didn't have to do any adjusting of it, and what they've actually done is they've encapsulated a ceramic ball bearing inside the pocket clip, which means it's a perfectly smooth surface to get in and out of your pocket, so they can put a lot of tension on this clip, and it's never going to risk snagging your pants. It's never going to get rough. It's really hard ceramic, so this is a fantastic idea that I wish everyone would do. Let's take a look at weight on this knife, because even though it's a large knife, this is not a heavy knife. So looking at weight in ounces, this is only 3.7 ounces, and that's for a 4-inch knife, which is really good, really light, and well done. You can see the frame lock has the metal insert in it. Just a fantastic knife. The way they've done the weight is to skeletonize it, and you'll see a minute on the disassembly. The carbon fiber inlay skeletonizes the outside of the handle, and there's actually some skeletonizing on the inside of the handle that they've done as well. So let's get into the disassembly here. They've done something really nice and done T8 screws throughout the whole thing except for on the frame lock. So it's just one type of screw to disassemble the whole knife. I have not disassembled this knife before, so you'll be seeing this for the first time with me. That pivot appears to be locked because it's not turning on the other side. So here is the pivot bolt. Let's get the bolts from the other side. Now let's do the same side. Let's see if they come out okay. So the only real thing about this knife that would caution me is this is designed to be a gentleman's folder, and it's not really a hard use knife. I'll show you the slot on the blade where the frame lock is, and it's smaller than some other knives, which means there's a potential for faster wear there that you wouldn't have with a knife that has a bit more meat to it. But overall, that's really the only, if you're using this as a gentleman's folder, that's probably not going to be a problem. If you're using it every day, that might be a little bit more of an issue. So if you see kind of here on the blade, if I show you the area, the surface area, where that frame lock has, it's very small. You don't really have much surface area here. Let's actually measure that. I've got my calipers right here. So you only got about, where's my millimeters? You only got about 5, almost not quite 5 millimeters by 3 millimeters there on that little place where the frame lock hits. If you look at any other kind of like a cold steel, even though on the tie light here, there's more surface area than that. Not all of it's been used, but it's there, so that as the knife wears, you have more area that comes into play. This one just, there's a potential for some wear there. But other than that, the knife is very well designed. There's the internal skeletonizing on that handle in addition to the external skeletonizing where the carbon fiber inlay goes. Pivot pin, you can see right there it's captured so that as you put it in, there's a notch on the actual pin that catches that spot, that keeps the logo centered and also keeps it from turning funny as you disassemble it. Nice titanium back spacer there. It does have this lanyard hole kind of plug in here. It doesn't come out very easily, so I'm not going to force it. But it does have a lanyard option, even though it's a very thin knife. One of the more interesting things they've done with the pivot setup is this kind of moving stop pin. So if you look at where the stop pin goes, there's a channel for it to run in. See that stop pin moves with the blade, but there's no top to it. So if you look at the blade here, the handle, that's the channel the stop pin runs in. It's not my favorite design for a stop pin, but I like it better than designs where that stop pin has kind of a hood over it here that completely encloses that channel. Because when the channel is completely enclosed, if gunk gets down in there, it'll actually pack into the back of the channel here, and you won't be able to fully open the knife. It'll look like it's open, but the lock won't engage. On this one, at least that channel is open so that if there does get to be gunk down in there, you can clean it out without disassembling the entire knife. So maybe not my favorite orientation for a stop pin, but it makes sense for a gentleman's folder, and it works quite well. It's a very sturdy way to set up a stop pin. You got the whole hollow out there in the back, so it's gonna hold up just fine. Overall, really like this knife. This is probably my favorite gentleman's folder that I have to carry. So excellent design from Kubey, excellent edge holding on this knife. One of my favorites. So hope you enjoyed the video and keep adventuring.